In this week's video, we are going to be making embeds for our soap, which is going to be a couple-day process, but bear with us. Hello everyone, welcome back if you are returning, and just welcome if you are new joining us. My name is Brendan. I am one of the co-owners of The Rustic Tub, our little small bath and body care business in the heart of tiny Ontario. Now, whether you are returning or new to this channel, thank you so much for joining us on our journey. This week, we are going to be doing something that's going to be a little bit of a process, but hopefully worth it in the end. Now, a bit of a backstory before we jump right into everything. We did this soap last year for our line, but we did it as a melt and pour just because we didn't know the time consumption that this would take. So now this year we are doing it as a cold process and as a melt and pour. It actually gave me anxiety cutting it because I never realized how hard melt and pour was to cut with a wire. And that really skyrockets anxiety when you go through that. However, for this round, we are keeping it as a cold process, so we are doing all of our embeds as well, and we are doing everything to our standard recipe. That's also not to say you can't do this as a melt and pour, because you absolutely can. It does have the same effect. It looks really good. Melt and pour, you can just add the batter, melt it down, you're ready to go. Easy peasy. You can add your own little flair to it too. This one is just our process of what we will be doing, so admittingly, it will most likely take us a couple days for it to do, but so be it. We are excited to try it out anyway. So the soap that we are recreating from last year is our Saturday morning cartoons. It's quite the wild name, I know, but it is actually just the Froot Loop scent. We are using it from Voyageur just because they don't have any vanillin in their mixture for it, whereas some other companies do have vanillin. And we want this soap to be white as possible for the base. So we're going to get down to that one now. Our embeds are going to be super colorful in our nice little Froot Loop embeds, but we're going to go all over that with our recipe and our ingredients right now. Since we are making the embeds for the soap, we are going to keep it the same recipe just so there's no consistency problems. So we are using our avocado butter, we have our coconut oil, avocado oil, and our castor oil. So this is going to be somewhat of a soft bar. That's okay for embeds. As we go on to our other one, the main mold, we will be using more of a stearic acid into it, possibly a cocoa butter as well, just to add some hardness. But for this batch right now, it's okay if it's going to be soft because as it sets up, we're going to let it cure into our little mold, and then we're going to be freezing it tomorrow as we work on this before we do it all. So fingers crossed, that'll be fine as we pop it all out. But without further ado, we are going to get started with our mixing of our ingredients. We will be using these after for all of our Froot Loop colors, melting it down, all of that, and spreading it for the first part of this video. Truth be told, I already have our lye water up and out of the way. I mix that one first thing in the morning. Very, very little. She's just showing off there, just off to the side. For now, I am going to add our castor oil. I'm just double checking with what my number has to be for it because this is a small batch. And if I go any more over than what I'm supposed to, I will probably be filling more than this mold and more than a secondary mold. Moving on to our avocado oil, this is just a small amount as well. Everything will come together in the end, but reality is you don't need a lot to fill a mold. I'm adding in our coconut oil now. And I will say in a lot of our other videos, you do see us add our coconut oil and our avocado butter at the same time. Melt that down. We're just going to be doing it all as one today and letting it cool a little bit lower, just because I want to make sure that everything goes to plan. And it is such a small batch, I don't have to worry about it taking a while to hit room temperature. Avocado butter is next. We are just adding in our nice little one for that one. I want to make sure I don't go over too much of this, and we will have a very, very soft soap. And we will already have a soft one, and it's just because I want to have proper time for cutting. Finally, I did just add in our canola oil just to create our whole mixture right there, ready to go. I didn't show myself pouring it just because me holding a giant box of our oil, trying to pour it with it kind of going everywhere, like half the time it does, would probably, although be amusing, would not be very good for a video. From here on out, we just go ahead. We're going to throw this on our double boiler and let it melt down, get to where we need to go with our texture for it. And I will say, we are specifically creating embeds for this bar of soap. So a lot of people do use a melt and pour. We're using ours differently. There are other people out there too who will bevel the sides of soap and essentially make a confetti soap. It looks really, really good. And this is just going to be a more pointed out version for that one. We are specifically making the embeds for this one. We do love a good confetti soap. So for everyone who does a confetti soap, like, we love what you do. We see you. This is just going to be a very specific version of that, essentially. Our mix is good and melted down now, so we are going to be adding our lye water to it. So I'll switch up the camera angle so you don't have to look at me for the entirety of this first part of the video. So I'm going to go ahead and get goggled up. We'll bring you on down for the exciting part as we move on to our mixing, our coloring, and our little molding. So we already added in our lye water. I'm going to go ahead, give it a nice quick mix. And I only had it on our option 1 for mix, so it was really light. I want this to be fairly fluid as possible, just because I really want it to thicken up when we add in our colors. So I'm going to go ahead, leave that one. I'm going to divert these into their proper containers. And it's going to be literally a little by a little. So I'm just going to kind of get them to where we need. Evenly split them all as much as we can. And from this point, I'm just going to add in a little bit of mica color. And we are using all of our micas from Fizz Fairy today. Just because, in our opinion, their colors are the best ones that showcase off in everything. So like when we paint our bath bombs, when we do our soaps, they are the go-to for us. Now you're probably looking at this wondering where the blue is, and in Canada we don't have blue Froot Loops just because we have different kind of rules and regulations that we're allowed to put into our cereals, and blue is not allowed for that. So we're going with the Canadian colors of purple, yellow, pink, and green. So I'm just going ahead, getting the colors best as possible. I probably should have started with yellow because yellow is probably the most altering color if you add any other color to it. And by doing a pre-mix, I also have a lot more room working with the soap batter that we have. So I'm not too worried about it seizing up. I know I have good working time with each and every part of it. So I'm just making sure that each little color is going to get mixed in fine, that we're not going to have chunks of whatever just floating around. Now, in reality, I probably won't be filling all 4 mats of this. I probably could have gotten away with double batching it, but that is okay either way, because we are doing this. We are starting out with it as a new process. It's a learning curve. So at this point, I'm not too worried about it at all. We're still going to get some great pieces out of it. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to add in our splash of fragrance to each little section, get it really mixed in and going. It's literally like 2 grams of fragrance that's going into each part. And from this moment, I'm just going to do a pour into our Froot Loop molds. I'm going to try to be as resourceful as I possibly can and not have to do 1 mold for color. If it happens to be the case, I'm at peace with that. We'll do a little scrape if we can get that all in. Oh, a little more than a little bit. So I'll just go ahead, move it on over. I can fill these guys up a tiny bit more. That's fine. All right, green pieces are done. It is time for our pink one. These ones are still fairly fluid, so I'm thinking I may have just added a little too much of the Froot Loop scent into our yellow one. So I'm just going ahead, tapping it in, getting the bottoms filled up, just so we can have a nice even Froot Loop. I know our yellow one is not going to look like the rest of them. Once again, that is okay. This is why we do these experiments, is to see what we can get away with. All right, with these in the mold, we are going to stop right there. So we're going to let these cure overnight, let them set up. I'm probably going to see if I can pop them into the freezer just so they'll get a little bit harder. So when I pop them out and add them to the rest of our mixture, they're ready to go. But I will see you when we mix up the next part of our recipe and get it ready for the mold. So stay tuned for that one as we just dive right on into the second portion of this video. We are now on to our day 2, and day 1, if you're just tuning in or paying attention right now, was spent making embeds for our day 2, so today. So we have everything in our molds from day 1, and when we just pop them out, you can kind of see that we have a little Froot Loop ready to go. So while everything melts down for our next portion of this, I'm just going to go ahead, get all of these out of the mold, get them ready to go. And I will say we are just following our standard recipe for part 2 of our soaps. So you're not missing much. We have our recipe up on our Patreon, all for that one. We're just making it a little bit more, minus the calculations for our Froot Loops that we're adding in. So I'm going to see you very shortly once again as all of our oils melt down. And I will see you for the mixing portion when it's ready to go. All of our oils are mixed down. They are ready to go. We're ready for the next process. And if you've watched our soap videos in the past, you obviously know what's going to happen next. So I'm going to go ahead, pop on our safety goggles. I'm going to put our lye water solution in, and we're going to go ahead and mix it up. So I will see you very shortly after when we mix it up, just to go over our next part. So when that's done, I'll bring the camera angle down, and we will move on from there. Just before I change the camera angle, I do want to say we are using the Patrick mold from Winston and Walter. I know I said it earlier in our video. I just didn't remember what the name was, so I had to double check with it. So yes, Patrick mold for this one, perfect for a tester soap, and perfect for what we're doing today, or fingers crossed. So I'll bring the camera angle down, and then we can go into our next process from there. Okay, so I did mix it together and get it to the soapification phase. I'm just adding in titanium dioxide just because this is going to make our batter super, super white. And the whole idea of this soap for Saturday morning cartoons is for it to look like a bowl of cereal. So that's why we're making our Froot Loop bit. We just have to make the next part. So I'm just going to go ahead, mix it up, get it ready to go, and then we'll be ready for our fragrance and pouring. Okay, so I just went ahead, added in our fragrance oil, so it should set up fairly quickly. We do want it to be a little bit on the thicker side, just because we are going to be adding in our little accoutrements into the soap. So like I said, because we want it to be a bowl of cereal, we're just going to go ahead and drop a couple in as we go. So now zooming in, you can see that it is going to get thicker. I'm just going to go ahead, kind of mix it in together. I'm not doing a fancy placement at all. I'm just going ahead and adding in colors wherever I can. Okay, for the upper part, we don't really do swirls on top of the soaps anymore, but I am doing it for this one, just because I'm getting things ready for the top. And after fixing the camera angle, you got to watch a very fun thing go down. We are calling it that on this one. So I'm going to go ahead, let it cure a bit more. I'm going to wrap it up in a blanket, and then we are going to see you for the cutting portion of this soap. Finally, It is ready to go. So we are on day 3 of making this little loaf of tester soap. And it's just because you got to wait for it to cure overnight. But the other part was just the Imbeds taking their time to cure as well, to the point where they were able to use. So I'm just going ahead. I'm doing a light unmolding. And I will always do the shout out because Winston and Walter make the best molds to work with. They are easy to use, nice and pliable, flexible. And the fun part with this one for me is just squeezing out the bottom. So we're going to get this out. I'll show you another one right before we do everything. I'll get it in the light more for you. So we're just going to go ahead, unmold it. I'm going to bring the camera down so we can see what our first cuts are going to look like. So with our tester bars that we do, we actually keep the ends of all of them just so we can get as many pieces as we can. And it's just a personal type of thing. We want to make sure that we're able to give to everyone what we can give. So here we go with our first little cut through. There we have it. We have our Froot Loops in there. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more purple, but I'm sure that's going to come with the rest of the cuts. This is exciting so far. So we're going to go ahead, cut out the rest of them, and we'll do the look after when they're ready to go. All right, here we have it. We have our 7 bars of tester soap that we did for this one with the Imbeds. I really love how this turned out. I wanted it to look like a bowl of cereal. That's why we scented it as Froot Loops. And for me, it just looks like my childhood. And I'm going to age myself here, but it's giving off Saved by the Bell vibes, which, you know what, I'm really here for. With that now, it does mean we are at the end of this week's video, so I'm very happy with how this is turning out. Next round, I probably will add a little bit more Froot Loop Imbeds to it. That's just my personal take, but we're going to go ahead, let these cure up a bit. These are going to be available for our summer line, so this is a proper preview to what we are bringing this year. It was a little bit on the longer side. We just wanted the Imbeds to cure before we jump into anything, but yeah, super happy with that. To officially wrap it up now, if you like what you see, please don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications for our channel as we go on our little journey here. And if you want access to all of our recipes, we do have them available on our Patreon. We also do keep up with our social media, so check us out over there where we're a bit more active on that side. And yeah, just thank you so much for tuning in again. And if you're new, just thank you so much. And we hope to see you soon, everyone. Bye.